Hello and welcome. Thought I'd talk to you today about your avatars. It's very important to get it as laser focused as possible, what your avatars look like, particularly when you're thinking about then taking your message to the marketplace. So for any of your marketing and advertising, when we talk about avatars, some people don't really get it fully clear and do a deep dive with it. And also that some people think that their avatar is just one or two. Can actually be three personas within your business, and how that can come about I'll explain in just a moment. If you actually are very clear with your avatars, it'll help you with also your positioning with your products and your services, as well as your marketing. So I've got a couple of, actually quite a few outlines here. So I'll just bring that up and try to read because I'll pop my glasses on in a minute. But when it comes to your avatar and your business, the amount of business owners I'm still finding that really are not fully clear on their avatars and haven't really got it pinned down enough is really quite amazing. I think that, and I don't mean to laugh, but I laugh at myself too, because I have been like that in so many ways. Because sometimes, and certainly speaking for myself, I want to be able to do so much for so many people that I find that I try to stretch those boundaries and try to add more in. And then I've got to constantly come back and say, no, Sonia, stop it. Let's just focus back in. We can always continue to add extra complementary services and products and stretch our distribution of our products and services just a little bit for those that want it. But we really need to make sure that we keep very laser focused in on our avatar and to continually serve our avatar in particular. So like I said, you could have three or two. So I would suggest to have a couple and not just go for one. Excuse me. So when I think about it, or giving you an example in this way, say I deal with entrepreneurs and small business owners. Now that is a little bit of a wide spectrum. So then I would have to come in and be a little bit more narrow and say, well, predominantly more females from 35 to 55 years of age. Now they do say that if you've got the more than a decade's worth of a gap there, either try to narrow it down into being more like 1 decade, or think about then if you need to still have the two decades, the 35 to 55 year olds, split it and make them slightly different. So thinking of your avatars as being more of an actual person. So if you think about it that way, you can actually give each of your avatars a name and make them come into life, come into fruition, to be able to see them and spot them. If you're really thinking of them as an individual person, then when you're coming across and meeting people and networking, connecting with people, they'll start automatically jumping out at you. It's a little bit like, if you think about maybe a time when you've tried to purchase a car and you think, I just want a Kia Rio, for example. I like to have a little small runaround car for nipping in and out and around the city. And then all of a sudden you start to see a whole lot of them. Or it's, having been pregnant, and then all of a sudden you start to see a whole lot more other pregnant people. So it's that type of perspective when it comes to your avatars, to be very, very specific so that you can recognize them, you can attract them really easily, and you'll be able to make sure that your message for your marketing is going to be spot on, and you can match it for the right marketplace as well as the products and services and the complementary products and services. So if you think about it, you can give, if you might think about separating those 2 decades apart and go, okay, well, this one has a name of being, let's say, Sally, and this one has a name of being Simone. You could think about being, what are their actual ages? So I might say, this one is 52 and this one is 44, for example. You can then go on and think about, okay, things like, well, that will give you their birth date, but where do they live? Country as well as maybe township, because each of the different townships within each state of each country have their own clique, their own way that they tend to see and do things. So if you can actually explore, if you're looking at what is your ideal customer, client, or stakeholder, this avatar, what is it about them that makes them unique? So then you might want to look at what do they do as far as their work, or what do they do for their living? Do they have children? What would they actually look like if you were to see them physically? So you can think about, even, believe it or not, even the clothes that they wear, the communities that they join, the different types of communities that they would be interested in, or associations or groups. Maybe what is their belief or their philosophy or ethos? What sort of qualities do they have if they were a real human? Well, they are a real human being, but this avatar, you're making this avatar really come to life. You could look at what are some of the traits that you could easily pinpoint and see. So that's even whether you're physically seeing them or if you're listening to them on an auditory, like a phone call, or even, believe it or not, if they type an email to you, the tonality that would come across in the emails. And I go into this when I talk about the DISC personality profile. It's a very quick and easy personality profiling tool that I like to use. It's not the be all and end all, but it is a nice, quick and easy one. You can do a deep dive in it. Not everyone is a pigeonhole in any of the particular quadrants. We have all personality types in us. But when we have a particular personality type that's a little bit more distinct than the other one, you'll actually see that in an email. It's really quite fascinating. That is something I'll actually bring to you in another video, a training session. So you might also want to think about, well, what sort of books or articles do they like to read and get involved with? Do they have any other sort of occupations or sideline hustles? What would be the experiences, the problems that they would be experiencing in their life? So personal life as well as professional life. What would they be mostly fearful of? So again, personal and professional. In this day and age, a lot of the time our businesses and our job roles, they're clashing a lot with our personal lives. So if you could not only with your clients or customers to reach out to them, to their pain points for their business life, but if you could just get that a little bit more of a blanketing, encompassing effect of also how it affects them personally, then you'll really be talking to them. They'll feel like, gee, you really know me. You really know me for my issues with my business, as well as how it really affects me as a human being in my personal life. So you could also think of things like, well, what frustrates them or makes them angry? And again, if you know that DISC personality profiling tool, it actually helps you quite a lot too, to be able to know, what would be their triggers for getting them frustrated and how to handle them. What do they desire mostly in life? And that all comes around values. And again, the values that I teach with the DISC personality profiling, it's and not everyone is a straightforward, easy to pinpoint, but it just gives you an idea around how to then pitch to the various different personalities. So if you think that perhaps maybe Sally is this type of personality type and Simone is this type of personality type, that will help you with your pitching of your messages, with your marketing, as well as with your products and services. What would be the main reason that they're seeking you out? and who is currently, appeasing some of their issues. So you can look at then, well, that's your competitor, and then how could you differentiate yourself? So if you know roughly who your avatars are looking at and utilizing, as well as knowing their values and all of the other different sorts of triggers for them, as well as what they're wanting, you can know then how to not only pitch but to differentiate, and then know the add value that you could do, which helps you with the differentiation. So if that's your core product or service, and you then add value to it, you'll know how to add value to it as opposed to what they consider as a value. And then looking at making sure that you define who you really, really don't want to be working with, because a lot of the times we could be looking at, especially when people reach out and ask us about things, and you sort of go, oh, look, I really want to help. Your heart's in the right place. You really want to help, but sometimes it's not always the right use of your time and energy. When you're having to bring so much forth to really look after your client, customer, stakeholder, it really does take that little bit more of an energy. It's not just a process, but it's that energy about really looking after these people and being of as much service, particularly right now in a current situation with the coronavirus, and what's helping people to really step up to the plate in business and be sustainable and be successful is the added extra value and service that they can bring to their avatars. So what helps with that for you is to then look at, well, what is it that I don't want to do, who I don't want to work with, what I really don't need to really do. So say, for example, I'm a bit of a workaholic and I tend to bite off a bit much than what I can chew sometimes, and I'm often adding extra things to my plate because I go, yeah, I can do that. Oh, I like a challenge. Oh, yeah, I can do that. Oh, yeah, I'll help you. And then after I go, oh, Sonia, you're doing it again. Is it really being of service to myself? Because what happens is that if you're spreading yourself too thin, you don't have enough energy to give out and give to those at 100%, to your avatars at 100%. You might be doing it more at about 80 or 90%, and is that fair to them? So if you really set your boundaries up very strongly and know how to pick yourself up, so for example, sometimes every couple of days, or it could be that at the end of every week I will look at, well, how much did I stick to my guns this week, and where did I start to get a bit too lenient? How can I recognize that in the moment for the next week? And so that I just work in increments of say, even if it's 1% improvement on sticking to the plan and sticking to my guns and making sure I'm very, very clear to and with and about and to my avatar, then I can be of the best service to my avatars. So I hope this gives you some food for thought about how to be very specific with your avatars. Exactly what do they look, bring them into fruition as a real life human being. So actually write it out in paper, and then I know really very successful entrepreneurs that do this to the point that they'll even create a picture, a physical picture of what that avatar looks like, and they sit down every couple of months to make sure that they're really communicating to this avatar. They'll put it up on their wall, and they'll actually sit down and have like a conversation about if they were to interview and to really pick the brains of this avatar, to really find out then about their values and their shadow values and all the ins and outs, and what motivates them, what doesn't motivate them, what challenges they could possibly have. And it's trying to get to the point of being, instead of being reactive, you're being a whole lot more proactive, and to look at the possible issues that could happen, as well as the potential that can come about. So I hope this has been really quite useful for you, and you'll be thinking about avatars in quite a different way. I'd be really interested to see what you create from this. Not only what your avatar is, but what they actually look like in real life. It would be really quite cool and very interesting. So reach out to me and let me know. SoniaClark.com is the website, and on Facebook group there is SoniaClark.com as well. And you can also leave me some feedback at the bottom of this video. So I will see you again another time. Bye for now.